Hello, Cindy here with Create Your Own Luck and love and relationship expert. I'm super excited to be here with you guys today talking about are you wearing man repellent? So you're going out on first dates, but they're not leading to second and third dates. Or maybe you're going out on first and second dates and they're not leading to third, fourth, fifth, sixth dates. So what's going on? Well, we're going to talk about that. Not to mention, maybe you're going out on dates that you feel like you have a really good connection and he just doesn't call you back. So these are some common scenarios that come up, and I'm going to speak into three things that might actually surprise you around what's coming up for you on first dates that aren't actually leading toward second and third dates. Men aren't feeling inspired to ask you out. So the number one thing is this. This is something I see often, and women don't always think that this is necessarily a bad thing. So you meet him, let's just say you've met online, you've had some phone conversations, and then you meet, you spend a lovely evening together, you're together 2-3 hours. He's talking about the next time you go out, this really great sushi restaurant he wants to take you to. The date seems to go really well. You feel super connected, you had a great time, you shared a few laughs, maybe a few drinks, and you leave and he doesn't call you again. Has anyone ever had that happen? That scene where you've had a really great time on a first date, you went to dinner, and it just, it was like poof, he's gone. So there's a reason for this happening. The number one reason is you actually spent too much time with him. You spent too much time with him on the first date. Now let me explain that to you. There are some qualifiers behind that, but even so if you met online, even if you met through friends or you met, at a party or out and about, and you go out with them and you spend all of this time on the first meeting. So what happens with a man is, I talk about this thing called tension a lot that's built between men and women. It's called buildup. And if you spend too much time with him, more time than he actually wants to spend, and he won't actually tell you that. He won't tell you that. He'll kind of think in his mind like, yeah, she's nice, I had a good time, but he's not curious to get to know you more. Sometimes we fit in the first 3 dates in one date, and there's plenty to find out as you continue getting to know the person. So it's important, especially in that first date, not to keep it too long. A lot of times men will, you might be thinking, well, he asked me out to dinner and it took forever. And, and I coach my clients around, especially on that first meeting, if you've met online and he's trying to go for a dinner date, I would just say, hey, you know what? I would love to have dinner with you in the future. How about if we meet, see if there's a good connection, and then, go for dinner next time, right? So that is the number one thing you want to do. Now, if you had a good connection, right? You might think, gosh, I had a great connection with this guy. We had so much in common. You see futuristic things happening, and he doesn't call. So he's not feeling connected. He's not feeling curious. So that's the number one reason why they don't ask you out again. 2, they might have actually, and men don't even really understand it. They, if you were to go to them and ask them, they might say, oh, she was nice. I mean, I don't know, maybe I would go out with her again, but he just doesn't feel that drive. So you want to, especially if you feel a connection, especially if you're meeting men that you feel are aligned with you, then, and it's not going further, that's a big reason. And a lot of people don't think about that. So that's one. And two, men actually bond through activity. They bond through activity. So a lot of times when we get together on a first date, it's, we're sitting down, we're having a meal, we're having appetizers, a drink, we're sitting across each other. It feels kind of stiff unless you just have the gift of natural deep connection and conversation. It can be, it can be a little uncomfortable, right? So something to even encourage is a walk, some form of little activity besides sitting in the coffee shop. And, a way to do that is, oh, gosh, it's such a nice night. Would you want to just take a walk with our iced coffee or something, right? So, and men actually do really well communicating when they're side by side with you. So, you ever notice how men sit together at bars and they watch sporting events? They sit together side by side. In the boardroom, men actually tend to sit shoulder to shoulder or more kind of diagonal, kitty corner, but their shoulders are still next to each other. They communicate that just innately in their nature. They communicate well that way. So that's number one. What's another reason why you feel like you're wearing man repellent? Here's something else. This is something that used to happen to me when I was in my early 20s. I was, I've always been a romantic, right? And I would go out on dates, would meet these guys, and then all of a sudden I felt like I had such a great connection. They were attractive. They seemed to have all of what I was looking for, right? And I had this vision in my mind of the 2.5 kids, white picket fence, dog, whatever, right? With palm trees around me. No kidding. And, I was on the date, but I wasn't there. Lights are on, but nobody's home. So I was building a relationship, excuse me, you guys, what I like to refer to as a fantasy relationship with a man, and he actually wasn't part of it. Like he wasn't really there. He was there, but he didn't feel a connection with me because I wasn't really present. I was thinking of, wow, we could go on great vacations. We could do all these great things. And I was connecting with the idea of who I thought he was. And I didn't understand why things just would not progress. I used to joke around that I wore man repellent. So moving on towards that, you guys are going to take a sip of water. Moving on, another reason why you've got this idea in your mind of this image, and it doesn't matter what age you are. Women have the tendency, and we don't always like to admit it, we have the tendency to future trip. So we can then, if we feel a connection and they seem to be lukewarm, we can go into pursuer mode and, really buy into whatever their excuses are. So presence is a present. The other thing too, and this may surprise you, as women, we love to talk, and we will talk and talk and talk, and we will actually get so excited about something. We talk over men, which is emasculating. We interrupt them, which they won't feel a connection with us. So if you're struggling with having a real deep connection Are you really listening to them? Listen to learn, don't wait to speak. So if that's happening and you're not actually giving him the opportunity to share, then he's just not going to feel connected to you. And sometimes as women, we're so excited about things, we don't even see that he doesn't hear us, right? Or he's hearing us, but he doesn't feel heard. We don't even see that. So this is super important to understand. Now, the other thing, and this probably won't surprise you, but this is something that happens often. We can talk about the past a lot. We'll talk about an ex. We'll talk about somebody we're still hung up on, quite frankly, and it shows. So if you're talking, and this goes for both sides of the coin, this goes for a man just as much as a woman. So if he's talking about his ex and, speaking poorly about her, or even just talking about his ex, like, oh, my ex and I used to do this, da, 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 da. It's kind of a turnoff, right? So you don't want to bring exes up in a conversation. And you might be thinking, well, Cindy, he asked, it naturally comes up, especially on a first date, you want to err on the side of positivity, and although you want to be real, so you just want to say, gosh, you know what? My last relationship, it ended, and there were a lot of great growth and learning opportunities for me. I wish him the best. And I'm excited to move forward and excited to be here with you. So, and you want to be authentic. I think, sometimes when we're on a first date, we can be nervous, which is natural. He can be just as nervous as you. It's good to call yourself out on that. Just say, gosh, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know. I don't usually get that nervous. I'm feeling some butterflies in my stomach. So being authentic and vulnerable, right? And you guys can, make a little joke around that. Things like this will support you in creating more of a connection to lead to a second date. Because if you're having a pattern of things not leading to a second date, there's chances are one of these things is happening. It could just be that there are times where you could go out on a first date with someone. And I remember I had this happen to me quite, so a number of years ago now. And I remember I went out with this guy and I was super confident, came home like, yeah, that guy's going to call me. And he didn't, right? I had been so involved in this work and I thought, it's interesting. It wasn't a pattern, right? So I looked for patterns and I thought, all right, well, for whatever reason, he didn't call me back. It could be for maybe he heard something out of my mouth that he knew would not align for him. And a lot of times, ladies, sometimes we feel, because we're vulnerable, right? We go out, we meet this guy, maybe we met him online, excuse me, and you might think, oh, he's just not attracted to me. If he clicked on your picture, he found you at least somewhat attractive. If you don't have pictures that represent you, then that's a problem, right? That's a real problem. That is not going, then you will absolutely go out on a lot of first dates that won't lead to second dates because there's misrepresentation. And then they start to think, what else is she not being honest about? Right? And think about, or they feel like they've been catfished. Have you ever gone out with a guy that has, you saw his pictures and you thought, okay, great. You meet him, he looks nothing like them. He looks like he's 10 years older, or, whatever. Or I find a lot of times that women are pleasantly surprised because a lot of men don't know how to put great pictures of themselves online. I think as women, I know as women, we're much better at that. So what I want to iterate to you, presence is a present. And asking thought-provoking questions, right? I talked about this not that long ago in a live. I talked about how, you can ask a question like, if money were no object, what would you do with your life? You didn't have to work, whatever. You can find a lot about somebody's values. And, so you want to make sure that there's space in the conversation, there's space for him to answer, and you're leaving before he actually wants you to. And you might be thinking, well, Cindy, I've done that, and I've had men get a little upset. Well, here's the thing. If you met for coffee or you met for something casual, or you met for an appetizer, just, you want to be warm and say, gosh, I had such a great time tonight. I do have someplace I need to be, or I've got to get up early in the morning, or, my friend's having, a little going away, but whatever. And I really had a great time. I really hope that we get to continue this and do this next time. So you want to be affirming, not overboard. And if the guy gets upset and he's offended and he chooses not to ask you out again, he's done you a favor. Because if he gets triggered off of that, especially when you're showing affirmation, he's not the right man for you. And most healthy men, they kind of like that. They're like, oh, she's got a life. She's independent. She knows who she is. So, and that creates more curiosity. I hope this has helped you guys. Please place a comment below. Let me know. Is it, do you have a pattern at all of going out on first dates, maybe a second date, and it not leading to a third, fourth, and fifth date, or into a relationship, something that you want? Something else I want to touch on, I didn't get the chance to today a whole lot, is, if you're feeling chemistry, I'm going to talk about this more. If you feel chemistry with someone that's not actually pursuing you, or he's not asking you out again, what do? You can't, there's some deeper levels. There's some deeper reasons as to why that's happening. There's actually some misalignment, and I'm going to talk about that more on another live this week. So thank you so much for being here today. If you know a lady or ladies that really need to hear this message, please share it with friends. I would really appreciate that. And, I would love to spread the word more and more. Not to mention, if you're on YouTube, you're hearing us there, seeing me there, like us, hit the subscribe button. I can't even talk today. Hit the subscribe button, and that way you can get updates on live videos that happen all the time. Thank you so much for being here today. It was super fun, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.